scary stories. Back in 2013, I was freshly single and new in town, so I made a profile on Plenty of Fish, a site and mobile app dating service I used primarily for coffee dates. But after I started making friends, I got a little more comfortable with the idea of going out at night. I typically implored the buddy system and really never had a problem with any weirdos in person. I had been talking to this guy, Dave, for about a week before we made our first plans to go out. I had invited a female co-worker along, and he said that was not a problem. He'd bring a friend also. However, at the last minute he said his friend was feeling anxious and couldn't be persuaded to go. I assured him my co-worker wasn't looking for a date, but he understandably at the time declined, as to not make things awkward for anyone. Without much thought, my co-worker and I still went to the bar Dave had suggested. I chatted with Dave for a bit more through the app before I gave him my number. It seemed harmless. Now that he had my number, I felt strange that we wouldn't actually meet. So I suggested a coffee date. He bailed on plans twice, but continued to text me all the time. I thought nothing strange of it yet. Then I started getting texts from him at all hours of the night. Whenever I called, he would reply with a text. It just started to give me a weird vibe. At worst, I thought that he was an unstable drug addict, so I gradually stopped chatting with him as much. After all, there were other guys more able and willing to take me out, which is what I had signed up for. He caught on that he was losing my interest and asked rather boldly if I had met someone else. Not wanting to lead him on, I confirmed that I was playing the field and that I did not feel a connection with him anymore. With that sociopath, my approach wouldn't have mattered. He would have turned on me, regardless. He called me a slut, said I was giving my time to the wrong guys, and accused me of only dating pretty boys. That was my aha moment. All his pictures on Plenty of Fish were of a really decent looking guy who dressed well and clearly styled his hair. A pretty boy, yeah. I had been so quick to try to get out on the town that I had never asked for a Skype date or a picture for my contacts. Dave was catfishing me. I ignored his tantrum because you can't really defend yourself against people like Dave. I stopped talking to him for good that day, but he wasn't done with me. Every day he would text me as though we were still conversing normally. All one-sided things about new books he was reading or restaurants he was trying. After I realized he was not going to quit whatever you call this, I added his number to the block list. I hoped that that would be the end of it. A few months later, I started getting texts from a new number. Hey, just junk. How are you? What's new? Are you still single? Assuming this was a guy, I may have ghosted off of Plenty of Fish, a service I was no longer using. I tried to do the decent thing and reply. I said I wasn't really dating at the moment and apologized if I had been rude or unclear about my intention. No, it's Dave. It was pretty clear you don't want to talk to me anymore, so I'm texting you from my friend's phone. I just need to get a few things off of my chest. I need closure, please. Fine, let this guy have his piece. He went on to admit he was not the guy in the pictures. He requested a do-over as friends. No, why not? I humor him with a well-thought and empathetic but decisive explanation. He lashes out at me again, says I'm heartless, and I don't understand his plight. Ignore. Over the day or so he continues texting me, apologizing for his behavior, then lashing out again when he doesn't get a reply from me. Eventually he succumbs and ends with some laminate that we can't be friends. The text stopped for a while. Then one day I'm driving on the freeway and my phone starts going ham. I take a quick glance and see that it's an unknown number. I was approaching my exit, almost at my destination, and figured it can wait. Before I got out of the car, I wanted to call my friends to touch base. But I figured the unknown number may be a friend texting from someone else's phone, so I checked my texts first. Just junk. Is that you in the silver Toyota Camry, heading west? Yeah, it's you. You look super pretty. I was hoping it was a practical joke, but didn't want to take the chance. I call up the friend who lives the closest, and sure enough, she's already inside. The rest of the night goes off without a hitch, but I stay the night at the place to be safe. I get brave while I'm at her place and decide to text the number back. Who is this? Dave. Now I was pissed off. I called him, but as per usual, he didn't answer. I then proceeded to barrage him with novels of text telling him how wildly inappropriate he's being, threatened to call the cops, and demanded that he leave me alone. Once I had said all I could, he congratulated me for clearing the slate and proposed to be friends again. I tell him to fuck off. Then nothing. I blocked all of the numbers that he contacted me on. He never left me notes on my car or at home, so I truly forgot about him and never saw a need to change my number. Creepy plenty of fish, Dave. I don't know who you are, and I don't really care. Let's not meet. So, to start, I'm a transgender woman. I'm single, and I make my status as trans very clear on all of my dating profiles, except Plenty of Fish, because they consider that to be talking about sex, and they will straight up ban you. So I state instead that I'm a huge proponent of trans rights. So this guy messages me. He lives about an hour away, kinda cute in a mildly creepy way, like something seems a little off about him, but people can't help how they look. So I give him a chance, just like I would want. I discover that he's a smoker, but he says he's trying hard to quit, and only does it when he's really stressed out or upset. We have a nice conversation, and he finally asks for my number, and without thinking about it, I give him the number, but tell him I'm getting ready for my evening classes, so I'll be slow to respond. A few minutes go by and I get, "Hi, it's username from Plenty of Fish." Now, usually I send standard quick messages, "Hi, it's Allie," so just to be clear, since my profile might be a little vague, I'm a transgender woman. I know that's not everyone's cup of tea, so if you are not interested, I completely understand. About 20% of the time, the guy isn't interested and gets rude and needs to be blocked, and the other 80% is split between immediate inappropriate questions and dick pics, casual acceptance, or dead silence. But, like I said, I was getting ready to go to class, so I hadn't sent the message yet. A few minutes go by, and I'm about to text him my standard, when I get another text. Who the fuck is full dead name? Why is he paying your goddamn cell phone bill? Me. Where did you get that name? Him. Answer the goddamn question. Who is he? I am honestly stunned at this point, and I realize he must have paid off one of those shady websites that offer personal info for a fee. Well, if you must know, I'm a transgender, and that used to be my goddamn name. I was about to tell you when you pulled that stunt. Please just do us both a favor and lose my number. That's incredibly invasive, and I don't want to talk to you anymore. You still live at the same address? I'm gonna come and see you so we can talk about this in person. No, I moved a few months ago, and I'm getting ready to head out like I said. You need to leave me alone. Don't contact me again. Since you have something to hide, I'm going to run a full background check on you. You lied to me, and I don't fucking accept that. I'm sending screenshots of this conversation and your Plenty of Fish profile and your photos to my 2 best friends who work in law enforcement in your hometown, and my ex-boyfriend, who I'm still on good terms with, who works for the local sheriff's office. Don't text me again. I didn't hear anything from him for about a few weeks. I made sure my doors and windows were locked, and the aforementioned friends and ex-friend would check up on me from time to time. Eventually, it just became one of those weird things that makes you laugh uneasily. And then one day, I thought I saw him at the local grocery store. Same dark hair, thick glasses, frames, and just creepy guy staring at me, watching me as I shopped. I texted my ex about it, and as an upswing on things, my ex and I got back together in a casual sort of way, and he stayed the night a few times a month, off and on. One night, when I was alone though, I just kept getting this weird feeling and smelling smoke. I lived in a little apartment complex that was 3 separate apartments that shared walls. No plumbing or air ducts. I don't smoke, and I'm very sensitive to the smell thanks to my asthma. The apartment had a wall unit AC, so I turned it off, since it had apparently been pulling air in from the neighbor's guest, who must have been chain smoking, I thought. I had an ASL video due the next morning, so I was up all night practicing and recording the video, singing the same story over and over again until it was almost a dance rather than narration. A couple of times I had to restart the video because my cat was going nuts. Finally, around 7 a.m., I had the video finished and sent it in, and was ready for bed. So I double-checked all the doors and windows were locked, set an alarm, and went to sleep. I woke up and got ready for school, was running a bit late, and had to hurry out the door. But I noticed something weird, but didn't have time to stop and register it. Classes went smoothly. I got an A. As I got home, I saw what had been bugging me. Each apartment had a small garden on each side of the porch. Mine was nothing but gravel and pavers the previous tenant had put in, but it was tidy, except for a pile of cigarette butts that looked like someone had dumped their car ashtray in my garden. There was no other trash, just that pile right in front of my bedroom window. I don't think anything about it at first, and just get a broom and dustpan and sweep it up. As I'm doing it, my neighbor, an old man, comes out and asks if my boyfriend ever got a hold of me. I ask him what he means. He tells me there was a young man waiting for me on my front porch, off and on a few hours last night, that he had seen the guy around before, thought he was my boyfriend. I asked what he looked like. Dark hair, thick glasses, chain smoking. I text the on-again, off-again ex. Cops take statements, and I give them screenshots. I move out of state a few weeks later for unrelated reasons, and have legally changed my name since, with closed records. I don't give guys my number anymore. Ladies and my fellow queer family, use a texting app until you get to know someone, because for like $5, a creep can get everything from your number. This happened about a few years ago when I had just moved to a new city, age 20, female, working, and going to school full time. I had a hard time meeting guys my age, so I turned to online dating in hopes of meeting the one. I chose Plenty of Fish, thinking it somehow wasn't like the other dating sites. This is where I met Anthony. He messaged me first, and there were a few red flags, but I was desperate to talk to someone off of Plenty of Fish who wasn't just trying to hook up or score nudes. I noticed all of his pictures were of random pro skateboarders and Nick Cave. Naive, I continued to chat with him because he seemed harmless. I couldn't quite point out what gave me a weird feeling, but it all started off innocent enough, and I thought he was just a little weird and quirky. A few random and weird messages on Plenty of Fish, some lyrics, long word vomit type soliloquies, comments on my red hair. Again, naive, I gave him a link to my personal blog on Tumblr in hopes of having some common interests. Anthony made a Tumblr account that night and went through every single one of my posts, liking each one, going all the way back through years of content. I must have had 500 likes by the next morning. Some time passed. I was no longer interested in pursuing Anthony, mostly due to the fact that all of our conversations were one-sided and just random and bizarre. Every once in a while, he would send me a random message on Tumblr about clouds, his clothes, some more unrelated lyrics, his love of foxes. He actually asked me to go on a date with him, but I told him I had a boyfriend. By this time, I had been dating my boyfriend for 6 months. Anthony still continued to like my posts on Tumblr, was reblogging a lot of art, animals, and various interests. He posted one selfie of his face. He looked my age, messy long brown hair, beard. I was grateful we had drifted apart and simply deleted and ignored any messages he sent from his account. One day, I received a message on Tumblr from a girl named Tandy. She said she had recently moved to the city and was looking to make some friends. She had been following me a while and thought we had a lot in common. I looked at her Tumblr. She had quite a bit of content dating back several months. All of her posts related to my own interest, and I thought I had met a new best friend. We began chatting for hours, bonding over various things, and exchanging experiences. She loved all of the same music, and seemed like such a cool person. Being new to the city, I still hadn't made many friends, and was eager to perhaps start an offline friendship with Tandy. I invited her to my boyfriend's show. I figured it was public and safe. I would be surrounded by people, and I had by now added her on Facebook, saw what she looked like, and felt comfortable with her. She didn't have many friends or updates on her page, but I attributed that to the fact that she said she was new to the city, a homebody introvert type, and was putting in long hours at a local radio station she worked at. Innocent, naive me believed everything. I was so excited to have made a friend. We had exchanged numbers and texted daily. I know that the person I was talking to that whole time was indeed Tandy. After chatting for a month, the day finally came. It was my boyfriend's show, and I was going to meet her. The doors had just opened, so there wasn't many people at the venue yet, but I recognized her right away, sitting at a table. I noticed she was not sitting alone. She was sitting with a guy in a tunic, with his face shrouded, with hair and a beard. My heart literally stopped because I had realized she was sitting with Anthony. My boyfriend was setting up his gear. None of my friends had arrived yet. No one knew at this point about Anthony. Only my boyfriend was aware that I was meeting Tandy at the show. Tandy smiled at me and said hello. She hugged me. Anthony was silent. He stared at me. I awkwardly waved to Anthony. I said, "Hi, Anthony." "We finally meet." Anthony smiled and nodded his head, but did not say a word. Tandy quickly interrupted, saying, "Anthony told me you guys met on Tumblr too. Small world. Anthony is actually my boyfriend." Somehow, I just could not believe the coincidence, but regardless spent the night with them, chatting with Tandy and being stared at by Anthony. He literally did not say a single fucking word to me the entire night. My boyfriend had no reason to think anything was going on. For some reason, I was super embarrassed about the situation, so I did not tell my boyfriend about Anthony that night. Later, I texted Tandy to inquire about her relationship with Anthony. I didn't get a reply. I called her 3 times, and the phone was out of service. I went online. Her Tumblr was deleted. I went on Facebook. Her account was there, but no longer being updated for the week that I watched it. She didn't respond to any of my messages. I went onto the website for the radio station she apparently worked at, and she was not listed anywhere as personnel or a volunteer. I later made a friend who worked at this radio station, and she confirmed there was never anyone named Tandy who ever stepped foot in that station or did any of the stuff Tandy claimed to be doing. Tandy effectively disappeared off of the face of the earth. I went on to Anthony's Tumblr page, and he was still posting art, music, boxes. I decided to creep into what he was linking on Tumblr, and all of his likes were of red-headed women in various types of bondage, abuse. Kate Winston in Titanic, Scully from the X-Files, fan fiction about kidnappings and enslavement, red-haired women dressed as foxes in cages. I still thought I had control over the situation. In fact, nothing happened for a while after that, until a month went by, and I was at the art gallery with some friends. I was going through the exhibits when my heart dropped. Anthony was there too. He followed us through the exhibit for a while, then disappeared. I couldn't figure out how he knew I was at the art gallery on that day. I saw him at a few other events that I could not understand his connection to. No one knew who he was. He just lingered in the background and disappeared. I saw him at a bunch of other shows, a smaller party at my friend's gallery, and a pop-up shop downtown for my friend's business. My boyfriend had another show a few months later. The band was loading in gear, and the bar was empty. Doors had just opened maybe about 5 minutes, and I was waiting for sound check. I looked at the bar, and my heart drops again. In full construction uniform, Anthony is at the bar, holding his hard hat. He is still wearing his work vest and still in work boots. By now I am freaking out and actually ran into the bathroom to think of what I needed to do. The woman at the bar saw me run into the bathroom and came in to check on me. I asked her about the man in the construction uniform at the bar, and she told me he was really weird. Had arrived an hour before doors opened and stood outside waiting to come in. He didn't order a drink. He just appeared to be waiting. I asked this woman to get my boyfriend, who was just finishing sound check at this point. I told my boyfriend everything I knew about Anthony. Of course, my boyfriend went to Anthony like a bat out of hell and interrogated him at the bar. Anthony had no expression, as my boyfriend told him to get lost, that he never wanted to see him again. Anthony took his hard hat and backpack and left. When the show started, I finally began to relax. My boyfriend were there, and I felt a little more protected. I looked beside me, and you guessed it, Anthony had changed into regular casual clothes and was standing right beside me. He just stared. I ended up hiding in the green room the entire show, and I left early with my boyfriend. We could not find Anthony after that. My boyfriend asked how Anthony was finding out my whereabouts, especially considering the art gallery trip was only talked about on Facebook group event. I told him I never added Anthony on Facebook. My profile security settings were on the highest possible. My boyfriend asked if I still had Tandy as a friend on Facebook, and I said yes. I then realized that Anthony was stalking me through Tandy's Facebook accounts, and I needed to block and delete her. It took a lot to accept that Tandy was not real, had pretended to be my friend, and was perhaps even paid by Anthony to gain my trust. That was hard to swallow. I blocked and deleted Tandy, and I never saw Anthony at an event ever again. Then my boyfriend started getting strange friend requests on Facebook. One was from a fan of his who lived in Ontario, Canada. My boyfriend initially was stoked and had no issue talking to this fan about his music and possibly making it out of Ontario for a show. But as the conversation went on, he got a bad feeling. More and more, this fan asked my boyfriend about his nose, which was the fan referred to me as. The fan asked my boyfriend if he would bring his nose to the next show. My boyfriend got wise to this and blocked the fan immediately. He didn't tell me about this fan until a few months later. I happened to be on my boyfriend's computer and noticed him in a Facebook conversation with a girl named Lynn. She was beautiful, blonde, thin, listed as a model, and living in a city 3 hours away. I couldn't help myself as the message started to pile up while I was checking my email. I read my boyfriend's conversation with Lynn, and my heart sank. Initially, I thought he was having an affair with her. Lynn was using such sweet language, sending pictures, asking him to meet up, asking if your Rose would be mad if she found out. I was shaken when I called my boyfriend down and asked him straight up who the hell Lynn was. My boyfriend said it was Anthony. I didn't believe him until my boyfriend told me about the fan, showed me all the messages, pointed out the location where all these messages were coming from, the same city we lived in. Anthony didn't realize at the end of every message it showed his location, yet the profiles listed a different city entirely. Lynn had hundreds of friends who ended up being bots from Thailand and India. Lynn used the same style and language as the fan, and I noticed Anthony himself. I ended up creeping on Anthony on Facebook and finding out all of the information and pictures he was using of Lynn were actually from one of Anthony's mutual friends on Facebook. I found her actually legit profile and everything. Me and my boyfriend blocked and deleted all of the accounts. I gave up my blog that I spent over 5 years cultivating and gaining 5K followers. Anthony went as far as to find a few listings my boyfriend had made on Kijiji for various things. Anthony actually contacted my boyfriend and set up a meeting to buy some tools. All was set to go. My boyfriend was going to meet him until the potential buyer called my boyfriend to ask, "Can I meet you at home?" My boyfriend declined. The potential buyer then asked, "Will your Rose be with you?" My boyfriend hung up and deleted all of his Kijiji ads. Anthony must have found them by searching my boyfriend's email. By now I am terrified and have gone to the police, but unless Anthony physically harms or threatens me, nothing can be done. We lived like this for about another year, so by now I have been stalked by Anthony for 2 years. Eventually, all the weird stuff just stopped, and I never heard from Anthony ever again. His Tumblr is still active. He still posts fox and likes and follows a very particular kink scene with redheads. I haven't seen or heard from him for several years now. My boyfriend is the only one who has ever heard Anthony's actual voice. Anthony, let's not meet again.